let's get a sprite in. So double click anywhere because we've got nothing selected yet. There's nothing to click on accidentally. Double click, and as I said, we're going to add our sprite. We're going to call that sprite our player. And now, can you see the mouse has changed to, or the cursor has changed to crosshairs, and that's because we're clicking where it's going to go. So we're going to click. If you've used Paint before, Paint or Photoshop or anything like that, some of these things will be similar. You've got tools to change the drawing. You've got things like you can crop, you can bring in. If we were doing things with more animations, we would bring in our sprite sheet here and we'd use that for that purpose. But as I said, today we're keeping it basic. We're just adding some blocks in. So click paintbrush, choose whatever color suits you. I'm going to go for a nice pink. That goes there. Up here, where we're going to resize, we're going to set our canvas. We're going to go 32 by 32. Again, it's up to you, but I'm going to keep it blocky, keep it simple. We're also, the other options for things that are interesting down here is you've got your hitbox, which, you know, if you imagine your character had a different shape than a square, you would want to tell the game where it's going to register as your character's doing things like touching the ground, or if it was a fighting game, you'd want to know which, you know, if a character's punching, to register that that's an extended part, that kind of stuff. Our character's a square, our hitbox is a square, that's perfect for us. Origin points, at the moment, can you see that it's right in the middle here? And what that means is when we're moving this around, it's centering, where it said snap to grid, it's centering to that grid. That's fine. What you might want to do though is right click, quick assign, bottom left, and then it will sort of snap to the grid and it will more sort of sit in those squares. So that's that for that. That's our character now. That's set up, ready to go. Next thing we're going to add is we're going to add a floor. So we add that as a sprite again. Floor is used and understood as something else in the game. So we're not going to name it floor. If you type in floor, it says, hey, that's being used somewhere else. Don't use it. So we're going to use ground instead. And again, exactly the same process. Click. We're going to go, let's go for a green. And then again with that origin point, you can see here as we're clicking and dragging and moving things around. Again, it's fine. Yeah. Oh, it's kept the origin point from the last time actually. No, it hasn't. You can still see it's centering weird. So double click. Click here. Quick assign. Bottom left. And then that's just keeping it nice and simple again. Drag that up so it fills the viewport. Now if we press play, we can now see that nothing's happening. And the reason why nothing's happening is because we've not given it any rules or anything to tell it to do anything, have we? We've just plonked those items in, and we now need to tell it to do stuff. In Construct, we do that, or a way we can do that is we can tell these to behave a certain way by giving them behaviors. So if we click on our character, click behaviors, we can click it down here, add new behavior. We can choose all of these. Now, there's loads of them here to look at, and they all do different things. Car, if you add a car and then click play, you can use the arrow keys and it'll start controlling like a car. If we click on behaviors, we can just click delete to get rid. Play around with them. I think it's important to experiment, and it's really important to mess around. For us though, we're making a platform game. We're going to use the platform behavior. Click play, and now the arrow keys. Oh, something happened there. Why do you think that fell through the ground? It's because we haven't given it a behavior to tell it to behave like ground. We do that by adding the behavior solid. Now, if we click play, blip, there we go. Our character has fallen or landed on there, and we use the arrow keys to move our character around. If you click on your character, you've got your options here for that jump. So you can click here to add double jump, and then if you press the arrow twice, your character double jumps. You can set max speed, acceleration, deceleration, jump strength, and play around with those. It's your game, it's your settings. You can fine tune those controls exactly how you please. For my example, I'm leaving it the same. So now we can run around. Great. But our game now needs some kind of conflict, I think. We need to have a way of winning the game, and we need to have a way of losing the game, which is how platformers typically behave. You don't have to do it that way, that's fine. But for this example, I will. So, got a character running around, all sorted. Next video, I'll cover how to add a win state and how to add a fail state.